Hey guys, this is Anish Jindal, and today we are going to learn how to make a list view as shown here, and then populate it with sets of data. If this list extends all the way to the bottom, it'll scroll. That's just a property of list views. And what we're going to do is, there'll be checkboxes, an image, and a text view, so you'll kind of get an idea of how to use everything, or quite a few things. And what's really special about list views is that you can dynamically add and take away elements from it. So it would be easy to hard code, just four elements like this into this layout. However, what if you want to do dynamically? Like, what if you had an ever-changing list of things like email inbox or a set of text messages? It would have to change dynamically, and you could use a list view and what is called an adapter for that. And adapters essentially bridge the gap between list views and data, and they let you populate the list views. So to get started, what we're going to do is make a new Android Studio project. So we'll click on New Project. Just bring it over here, and I'll just call it List View Demo. Next, keep all these the same. We've talked about this stuff before. Next, and we can leave it at main activity, or actually let's call it list activity, just because it'll be a list view, and click finish, and we'll let that finish building. Now that the project has been made, let's start making the app. The first thing we will do is actually add a list view to the layout. So we're going to layout activity list, and this is the layout that is just initially made. We can go ahead and just delete this text view, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If we need a list view, we just need to drag in the list view component, and that is in containers. Just grab list view, drag it in, and let's just fix this. We'll go down to text. We'll say fill layout with fill parent, and just if anything else popped up, just yeah. Now we have or what should, there we go, take up the screen. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's start actually making these components that will actually populate it. So if you think about it, if we go back to the example we made here, think about it, each of these rows essentially has its own view. So there's a text view here, a checkbox here, and an image here. So to make that, basically what you have to do is you have to make a new layout for each row, and every row basically follows the same template. So to do that, just right-click on Layout, go to New, and click on Layout Resource File. And I like the convention of just doing like something called like row view, just because it's a row. So I just click OK. Awesome. So this is what we have, and even though it's showing the whole screen, just remember, just keep in mind that only really whatever is in this white part here is what's actually part of the row. So it's not like this whole phone image will obviously show up in each row. So just one thing, it'll be way easier if we're editing this in a relative layout. So let's just change it to relative layout. There we go. And so what all components were here? So we needed a large text, or any text view really. Just drag it in there. That's for the well, what do we want to call it? We'll go ahead and call it the subject name. Oh wait, this is the text. Okay, so we'll call it the subject, and the ID can be subject name text view. Okay. What else do we need? Let's look at the app we made. There's the text view. Then there's a homework done. Have we finished the homework? That's just a checkbox. And then we need an image. So for the checkbox, just drag in a checkbox right here. And we'll call it, the text will be, what was it, homework done, and ID homework done check box. Okay. And sometimes the default colors aren't that great, so just to simplify it, or I mean make it work for sure, we're just going to change some colors here. This is what I at least show you guys how to edit some attributes. So if you start typing in color, there's a text color option, and we'll just do Android color, let's just go with black. And then we also have to set the what's it called? Gosh, hold on. Button tint. Android color black. Oh, the black's already there. Okay. And also just in the text view, let's just set the color. Text color Android color black. Okay, awesome. And then we needed one more component, and that is an image view. Go ahead and just drag that in. And let's see, it's up there. Let's actually give it a width. So image view, if you see, it wasn't visible because it's set to wrap content, which means it'll only be as big as whatever content is in it. However, since we have not set an image to it yet, it basically has 0 size. So that's why you can't really see it right there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we'll go here to the image view, and we'll just set it to 50 dp. 50 dp. Okay, so that looks good. And of course, we have to change the ID. Actually, we can just leave it at image view because that's basically what it is. It's an image view. And let's just, like, you know, maybe make it like, yeah, there we go. So this is basically the layout. Go ahead and save this. So every row will have basically a format just like this. And what we will do now is I'll show you how to, for each individual row, populate or change the subject, whether it's pre-checked, and whatever the image is. So now we have to actually create basically an object that contains each instance of a subject. And how we will do that is we're going to create another class. Notice this will be a class, not an activity. And just click on, right-click on Java, and then go to New and Java class. Ooh, what's this? Okay, yeah, put it in the main, not the test, just the main. Okay. And we will call it school subject. And okay. So if you've done objects with Java before, then this should be something you're familiar with. But basically, we're just going to create an object, and then we'll instantiate it. So what all is in a school subject? Well, there's a string name. There's a Boolean is homework done. And then for the image, basically it'll be an integer image ID. And you may be thinking it should be like some byte array, but basically we're just going to be passing it in basically a resource that's already in the project, and basically the ID is an integer. So it's pretty simple. I'll show you guys. And now we just need a constructor. So public school subject. The 3 things we need in it are this string name, same thing as before, basically is homework done, and then integer image ID. And this is just this dot name. You know, we're just whatever's passed into the constructor we want to save in this specific instance of the object. So is homework done, and this dot image ID equals image ID. So there we go. So basically, anytime we create one of these subjects that has a name, is the homework done, which is just a checkbox, a Boolean, and an image, you can see we'll just be instantiating an instance of a school subject. So now we are going to make what is probably the hardest thing to understand in this topic, and that is the adapter. And what I was saying before is that the adapter basically binds the data you have to the list view. And wait a minute. Didn't I? Okay, I told this to be in the other class, or not the test one. I don't know why it's here, so let's just drag it in there. Hopefully, not the same thing happened to you guys, but now it should be fixed. Everything should be in this list view demo package. So we're going to create a new class. Actually, it's better if you right-click on this package instead of Java, so that doesn't happen. And we are going to call it subject adapter. And what's actually good is that this isn't something we have to entirely implement on our own. It does a lot of background performance handling, making sure it runs smoothly on the phone. And luckily, we don't really have to worry about that. We just have to extend it and modify whatever we need. So it extends, we'll be using something called an array adapter. And basically the type of object, it's just like an array list, how you have to pass in a type. The type will basically be school subject. So just a quick explanation here. So we're using an array adapter. That means that the data we pass into it will just be in the form of an array or an array list. There's also cursor adapters, which are very handy when you're using databases. But we're just going to cover array adapters for now. Because really, I think they're probably the simplest one, and it'll help you understand the topic. So what's it complaining about? Let's see. You can just have to get, okay, there we go. Create constructor. Okay, that makes sense because we have to basically, override whatever it wants us to override. Okay. Let's see. So basically, the three things we need are there's context, which is it's just something in Android. It's basically whichever application or whichever activity this action will kind of be running in. It's just don't worry about that for now. But basically, we'll need to save in a context here. Context. We'll also need to save in an resource. And remember I was saying before, like even with the image, we're saving it as an integer resource. This is also an integer resource, and I'll explain what it'll be doing very soon. And then we're going to have an array list. This will basically be school subject. It will be holding school subject types. And we're just going to call it subjects equals null. And basically, well, it'll make more sense. So, and then here we just want another thing added to the constructor, array list school subject subjects. So basically what's going on is when we instantiate this adapter, we're going to pass in the context. The integer resource will be whichever view we want to use as the template, which will be the row view that we made before. And the subjects will basically be all of an array list of all of the instances of school subject that we want. So there'll be one for math, one for science, one for history, and one for reading. And it will all be inside this array list subject. And that's why the type is school subject, because we're going to instantiate school subject and then add it to this array list. And then now just to finish up the constructor, let's add in one more thing here, subjects. Okay, and then we're just going to do what we did before. This dot context equals context. This dot resource equals resource. And this dot subjects equals subjects. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to override a method called getView. So just type in getView, and this should be the first one. Okay. Basically, what this method does is when it's going through and populating this one by one, it's getting the view, and basically in here we're going to basically specify where to get each of these individual pieces of data. And like it's saying, it's basically getting the view. So each of these is a view, and it's getting it each individual time. So this is being called every time you populate. So in this case, 4 times. Okay. So we can just take out super. Okay. So what's really going on? So first, we're going to think about this logically, okay? So we have to get the current school subject. So subject equals subjects dot get, and in this position. So we just said whichever one we are currently on, we're going to get it from the array list. So that's why we're getting subjects, which is this array list dot get position, which is being passed in, and we're saving it into a school subject. So so we can easily get data from it. Okay, so now this next line, we're going to say if convert view equals null. And basically what this line is saying is that, well, there's a convert view, okay? And the reason it's really, well, it'll be null basically the first time it's being instantiated. However, after that, it doesn't really need to instantiate this view every time, because if you think about it, it's kind of like the same thing that's going on, just different data. So just to make performance a bit better, it doesn't have to instantiate this view every single time. So only if it's null will it instantiate it. And just type in convert view equals layout inflator, and this is all documentation online from context. So it's getting a layout inflator dot inflate. Inflating just basically means making the view, and we're going to want to make r dot layout dot row view, and that's the view we made before. And then the other parameters just pass in parent and false. Okay, so now in case convert view is null, it'll just inflate the view, and that's awesome. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, you think about it, really what we're really doing is just changing the values in each of these views. And this is something you guys actually already know how to do. We have a text view, so we'll make a text view. This one is subject name text view equals text view. However, we can't just do find view by ID, because really, what view are we specifically looking in? In an activity, the reason you can just type in find view by ID is because, well, it knows which view you're looking for. You're looking for the one that is associated with that activity. However, this time, this isn't an activity, so it does not know that it needs to look in this row view. And the way you actually solve that is, well, they actually pass in the view you want to look in. So we're going to do convert view dot find view by ID, and then everything else is the same. r.id dot its subject name text view. Okay. Then we have a checkbox. We'll call it homework done checkbox equals checkbox. And like I was saying, this is something you guys know how to do. Again, we'll do convert view, find view by ID, and this is all documentation online, so it's not like you'd have to figure out the convert view thing on your own. It's all written out for you. And then the last thing is the image view. We're just going to call that image view equals image view convert view find view by ID r.id.image view. Okay. So now that we have binded each of these variables to something and view in the view or layout, and we in the past we've defined it up here and then binded it down here. We're seeing all in one line. It really works either way. And then so now what we're going to do is it's pretty straightforward actually. The subject name, well, what is it? It's just, well, we're going to set the text of that text view to be whatever the current subject we're on dot name. What's this really doing? Well, over here we got the current subject, so the first time it'll just be math. Okay, so so we have the object subject, and we're just saying that the text view text to whatever the subject's name is. Okay, so checkbox, homework done checkbox. We can do set checked, and it'll just be subject dot is homework done. Okay, and the last one we'll do image view dot. There's quite a few different sets. We're going to do image resource and subject dot image ID. Okay, and then after all this is done, we have to pass back just you have to return a view. If you see over here, the type is view for the return type. And convert view is the same one we found the views in. So it makes sense, it is the one that we will return. And now that we've made the adapter, quickly, I can quickly summarize what's going on again. So if the view is originally null, we'll inflate it. This will only really happen once. And then we're just doing things that you're already used to. We're just setting the text. Well, first we're binding each of these to view in the layout. And then we're just setting the text using the instance variable for the school subject object. So now that we've made the adapter and we've made the instance for school subject, we now have to instantiate school object. I mean, we made the object for school subject, now we have to instantiate it. So we'll do this in list activity, the first activity that was made, and right now the only activity in the project, because both of these are just classes. What we will first do is, well, what you're familiar with. We'll do list view. We're just, getting the list view from the layout. List view equals list view. And remember, I was saying we don't actually have to. There's no convert view or anything in this one. It's just, just a list view, and we can just search find view by ID. And then we're going to have an array list, because remember, this is what we have to pass into the adapter. The type is a school subject. Let's call it subjects equals new array list school subject, and oops, there we go. Okay, so now we have to start adding stuff to this array list, and but first we have to instantiate school subject. So let's first make math equals math equals new school subject. So look at the parameters. The first one's the name, so math. Then the boolean is homework done. Let's just make false. And then the integer image ID. Well, what do we do for that? Well, remember how I was saying we're going to pass in images that are already in the project? Well, now I'm going to show you how to do that. So really what we need to do is put, well, all basically image resources go in this drawable file. And if you don't have that in your project, it should be there, but you can basically get it by right-clicking on res, which is resources, new, Android resource directory, and the resource type, just search for that and you'll see drawable there. Well, basically I already, there we go. On the desktop, I already have the images right here. Basically just copy them, Command C, Control C, and just click on drawable and do Control V. And it'll say copy specified files, okay. And there we go. Now we have these images in the project. So how do we reference them? Well, let's think about it like this. Whenever you want to reference a layout, such as activity list, how do we do it? You do r.layout.activity_list. How do you think we might do drawable? Well, we'll do r.drawable.math. Simple as that, right? Okay, and now we'll just add it to the array list subjects.add, and it wants a school subject type, and yeah, there we go. And now we're just going to do the same thing for each of the other 4 subjects. So let's just copy. If you notice also, it shows the whatever resource is being used. So for math, we had an image of pi. So math, then science. This text will obviously be science. Let's make this true. And science, okay. And then add science. Math, science, history. Make this true as well. This can really be whatever you want. And history. And then reading. Oh, sorry, we have to change this. History. Reading. Let's make okay, leave this as false. Reading. And then reading. So what did we do here? We just, created, we instantiated the class, the school subject class with different subjects: math, science, history, reading. I don't know what's loading. Something's going on. Okay. And then we just added it to that array list, which we will eventually pass in. And the final way, well, actually, there's one more thing we need to do. Actually, two things. We haven't instantiated our adapter yet. And that's, just simple instantiation, subject adapter. Let's call it adapter equals new subject adapter. And let's see the parameters you have to pass in. So the context, just put get application context. The resource. So this is basically the view that will be used. R dot layout dot row view. And then last one, the subjects, basically we're going to instantiate it using these subjects. And actually, I realized just now that when we're inflating it, technically we should use the resource that's in the class, because really we're passing in, like originally I had it as r.layout.row view, but we're going to just pass that in. So either works. I guess we can just leave it how it is. But yeah, okay. And now just one final step. We're going to do list view dot set adapter and pass in adapter. And there we go. When I run this, actually I'll go ahead and run it now. Just one more thing actually. If you look at the demo we have, it says subjects up here, but when we run this, you'll notice it'll actually say, well, I can show you what it'll say. If you remember, we talked about the manifest before. If you go to the Android manifest, right now it is set to label, which will say list view demo. However, let's just change it in the class. So we'll just go here, and we'll say label subjects. Okay, and I'll show you this running. Actually, yeah, I'll show you this running. Even though this looks exactly like the demo I was showing you guys before, I promise you this is what we just made, and it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? We were able to instantiate the school subject class and populate an array list with subjects with parameters we passed in here. If you notice, false, true, true, false. So that's not done, 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 not done. And then we just create an adapter, which is an instance of the custom array adapter we just made. And then we set the list view adapter to adapter. So let's quickly run through this code again. School subject is just, well, it's just basically the type of object we expect to have. So it has a name, is homework done, and then an integer image ID. And the constructor is just obviously saving whatever we pass in. And then the adapter, it has a context, a resource, and an array list, which holds an array list of all the subjects we want to display. The resource is just the basically the layout that we will use as a template for each row. When you instantiate the adapter, you're just saving each of these. And then the get view is called every time you basically are populating the list view with a row. And we're just saving the text views and checkbox and image view we're binding them to something, a view in the layout. We have to use convert view because well, these views really are from convert view. And then we're just setting the text, setting it checked, setting the resource to the instance variable of the instance that we have right here. So whatever a subject is currently on, and then we just return the convert view. And when that works, you get this really nice array list or list view that was populated using an array adapter. So I hope this was helpful, and as always, if you have questions, please let me know. Thanks.